What's up, friend? Welcome back. I'm so glad to see you here today. I feel so blessed that our paths have crossed. I think that's for a reason. I wanted to take this time and space to unpack some concepts in regards to how can we actually write more. Is there a way that we can cultivate a lifestyle that allows us to not only have more time and space to write, but a lifestyle in which we actually feel inspired to write more, in terms of writing more often and maybe even writing more words. But I'm a huge believer in the fact that we shouldn't be so focused on word count and how many words we can crank out in X amount of time. It goes beyond that. I believe that what we do in every area of our lives is affecting our creativity. It's building supports for our creativity. It's helping us to feel inspired to create. I talk a lot about that in this video up here, so go check it out if you have time to. After this one, I talk all about creating supports in your lifestyle to actually cultivate more creativity, to support the creative things you're doing in your life, and how that can all create this incredible ecosystem. But today I wanted to talk about how can we actually create more time? So number one, looking at our lives, taking a step back, whether you have a schedule and you're a really scheduled person or you don't have a schedule like me, taking a step back, maybe taking some notes. What is it you do on a daily basis? What is it you do on a weekly basis? Like when you wake up in the morning, maybe you go to work and then you come home, and then what do you do after that? Or maybe you work from home, maybe you're a full-time writer, or maybe you work for yourself doing something else. So just look at what is the landscape of my day? What is it I do on a daily basis? And then start to zoom in a little bit more and look at where are potential places that I may be wasting my energy. And look at it like that, energetically, not so much am I wasting my time. That's a really broad, sort of obtuse concept, that we possess time and we can waste it, when in fact that's not really the case. What we possess is energy, and we are actually putting out energy to each thing that we give our attention to. We only have so much energy and attention. That's why we can't multitask lots of things, is we have a limited amount of attention. That's why when you're driving, you're not supposed to be looking at your phone or doing something else, because we need to stay focused on one thing. It's true with everything in our lives. We can't be so divided, otherwise the things that are important start to suffer, right? So what are some areas? Maybe it's after we get home from work, or after cleaning up dinner, we start scrolling through our phones. Or maybe there's some time where we waste time watching YouTube videos on our lunch break. Or we are watching a TV series. It doesn't have to be related to a digital device. I just list those because I know that's a big one. You know, in today's world, we are constantly having our attention sucked into these devices, and it can be hard to break that pattern. But identify what are some things that maybe are potentially wasting our energy. Energy sucks. Where are those things? And then if we can just become aware of them, we don't even have to try to work on changing anything yet. That's the cool part of this. If we just become aware of it each and every time, oh, there's that thing that I'm giving a lot of energy to. Is this serving me? Just ask yourself, is this serving me? And maybe just spend a week or so going through your daily habits and your daily rituals, asking yourself, is this serving me or not? Or could I use this time, instead of doing this thing, to actually pursue writing? Could I sit down for 20 minutes and write? Just see what happens. Just sit down with the intention of creating story. Take a deep breath and see what happens in that space. Just cultivate the space. Don't even worry about writing for the first several days, for several weeks even. Just carve out that time. Just sit with yourself in that space. And over time, as we cultivate this practice, I think you'll see writing starts to surface. That leads to my second point, which is write in small blocks of time. Don't worry about having a big 3-4 hour long writing session. Maybe all we need is a small window of time, an hour, 20 minutes, a half hour. It's like the tortoise and the hare thing. It's not all about this one big sprint to get to the finish line. It's actually, there's this really incredible beauty in cultivating a daily practice with small amounts of time. I always tell people this in regards to yoga too. If you don't have time to do an hour of yoga, don't do an hour of yoga, do 10 minutes of yoga. Every day do 10 minutes of yoga, and it's like, wow, at the end of a month, you feel completely transformed. The same goes for our writing practice. If we can find 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes to sit down and just, okay, I'm gonna take this time for myself. Here I am, I'm showing up for myself. Let's see if some words happen. What do I want to write in this sentence? What's happening with this character? Maybe I can add something to that relationship. And we progress the story forward, maybe by a page, maybe by a few paragraphs, maybe by one sentence, but it's still forward progress that at the end of the day you can look back on and feel happy about. Not so much that you made progress, that you accomplished something, but that you took that time for yourself. It's a nod of respect to your creativity. Stop before you're empty. This is a big one for me. Stopping before you are empty. When we fill our cars with gas, right? We don't then drive the car until it is empty and we break down. This one has transformed the way I write, because as I used to write, I'd get on a roll and I'm like, I'm just gonna keep writing until I have nothing left inside me, and then sort of just crash and burn. Now, I stop when I still want to keep going, like, oh, I can't wait to write this thing. I'm gonna stop. Because now I'm ending on this incredible like dopamine hit of being so pumped and excited about the next thing, that if I end on that note, now all I'm doing is looking forward to getting back to that place, and that same positive energy is there. I'm remembering that I ended on this high note, not ending on a note of exhaustion. Stopping before you're empty. Stop before you reach that place of creative emptiness. This is a huge one, in my opinion, for preventing burnout. Burnout, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get over it or get out of it, but like that old saying goes, like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's so much better to just come up with ways like to nourish ourselves and prevent creative burnout from happening in the first place than to try to figure out, how do I get myself out of this rut now? Let's just prevent it before it happens by ending on a high note, ending with fuel still in our creative tanks for the next writing session. Stay present within the one line of text, not the big picture or word count. Staying present. Scrivener has this great feature that I use a lot that's it basically highlights the one line you're working on or the one paragraph you're working on, so everything else is sort of fogged over, so you're really focused in on that one sentence, because really that's all we're writing is that one sentence. We're never writing the whole book. We're never writing the whole chapter. We're always just writing this one sentence, and that's such a liberating thought for when you feel overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, how am I even going to do this? I feel so stressed, so overwhelmed. I'm talking to myself here. I've experienced this so many times. If I can get myself, I can reel back to this place of, actually, Kate, you're not writing the whole book. You are writing this one word, this one sentence. What do we want to convey to the best of our ability within this one sentence? And it liberates you from having to carry the weight of the whole book. It's just this one sentence, that's it. And lastly, use other creative outlets to support your creative writing, drawing, painting, cooking, whatever, anything that continues the process and trajectory of creation. That video I mentioned at the beginning of this one, make sure you check it out, because I go into that super more in depth, but it's So important to have other supports in your life to help nourish your creativity. I just released an ebook about this as well. That's all the little practices that I incorporate into my daily life. Nothing big, nothing major, just a bunch of little choices and rituals that help me to stay creative, that help to nourish me, mind, body, and spirit, so that I feel like creating. We have to create from a place of happiness. We can't create to try to make ourselves happy. It always fails. But when we start from a place of, I already feel like I'm creating from a full cup, then we have stuff to give the world. We have something to say. We're not trying to draw those last little drops out of our well. We are continuously filling ourselves with acts of creation in so many areas of our lives that it just keeps that ball of creation rolling. It's not just dependent upon writing. It's dependent upon a million little choices we make in our everyday lives, whether it's spending time baking with your kids, or painting a picture, or going for a nature walk and writing down observations of what you see, or making music. There's so many ways that we can create in our everyday lives, and that's what fuels us forward in our creative journey. So those are a few things that I practice every single day, that I try to continuously bring myself back to remind myself, hey, it's the practice. This isn't about accomplishing anything. It's about using these tools to find more time to write and to find more energy to bring to the practice. It's a practice, guys. It is a practice that we can keep coming back to, that's nourishing us in so many ways. So I hope you got something out of this. Comment below and tell me what are some practices you use to help you carve out the time to write? What are some rituals that you might bring into your everyday to spark creativity? I always love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, it always means the world when you give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who might benefit from it, and make sure you subscribe so that you'll be here for the next video, because I'd love to see you there. Check out my ebook with the link below, and if you feel drawn to give in any way, you can find my Patreon and my Etsy shop where I make art with my husband and we sell it. You can find the link to that below too. Thank you so much for being here, and I wish you so much joy in your writing journey. Namaste.